Welcome to I Got Tea. Time to educate America. In today's cup, respect. The one word that built this country and the one word being bulldozed in broad daylight. Sip slow. This one burns. Now, when a house starts to crack, you don't always see it from the outside. Sometimes the paint still shines, the flags still wave, and the speeches still echo. But if you listen closely, you can hear something hollowing out. You can hear respect leaving the building. And when respect leaves, everything else begins to fall. Hold that thought. I'm going to refill my cup because this is going to be a long one. But before we go any deeper, y'all do me a favor. If this tea is already hitting, share it, heart it, like it, drop your thoughts in the comments because y'all, it's engagement that helps this truth travel so more folks can sip what you're sipping. And it also helps me with the algorithm, if you know what I mean. So let's lay the background of what's happening. A few months ago, Americans were told that a new ballroom, a grand addition, would be built beside the White House. A place of luxury funded by million-dollar dinners and donor applauses, private money. We were told that it wouldn't harm a single thing, that history would remain untouched. Yeah. But listen, this ballroom isn't even real. It exists only in renderings and rhetoric, a story told to justify tearing something else down. But destruction, that part's real. The walls of the East Wing were real. The bunker beneath it, the one built to protect this nation's leaders in time of crisis, very real. And now all of it sits under rubble, exposed to open air, footage, more lies, the truth. Because it's just wild how in a few days, demolition crews just tore it down. There were no environmental safety tents, no oversight filings, no preservation review, just dust, debris, and disregard. Listen, we're being asked to believe that what's coming will be grander, more beautiful, more presidential. But I have to ask, how can you build grandeur on a foundation of disrespect? And all of this after a weekend when just days before the bulldozers rolled in, millions of people filled the streets and marched under one banner: No Kings. A movement, calling for humility, for accountability, for limits to power. And what did we get in response? An AI fantasy. The president in a fighter jet, Top Gun music blaring, dropping brown sludge on the very citizens who dared to demand respect. Y'all listen, that's not humor. That's not even satire. That's humiliation and that's contempt. That is leadership mocking its own people digitally, gleefully, shamelessly. Then, as if on cue, demolition began. No grace period, no ceremony, no warning. The house that belongs to the people became a construction zone for one man's ego trip. So now, y'all, let's get to the very theme of this conversation: respect. You see, the word we've lost in all of this noise is respect. Respect for the people, respect for the position, respect for the power itself.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
You see, respect is not a photo op. It's not a gilded hallway or a donor's name carved into limestone. Respect is restraint, the wisdom to know that just because you can doesn't mean you should. You see, the Casa Blanca has stood through wars, assassinations, depressions, and social revolutions, and still it kept its dignity. Why, you ask? Because every generation of leaders understood this: the presidency isn't a throne, and this house is not yours to own. It's yours to honor. It's a loan temporary, conditional, renewable only by trust. It was meant to humble whoever holds it, to remind them that power in this country flows up from the people, not down from the pedestal. You see, from the Truman Reconstruction to the Kennedy Gardens, even major changes were done with reverence. Plans were reviewed, historians consulted, and workers vetted. It wasn't just about bricks, it was about balance, about the understanding that the people's home carries the people's memory. But what we're witnessing right now, it isn't stewardship, it's possession. The marble halls are being treated like a personal playground, and the people's house is being remodeled into a monument to the ego. Now, all of this is symbolic for a reason. As a storyteller, I know that every choice tells a story. What's happening right now isn't restoration. Replacing the rose garden's vibrant colors with pale limestone wasn't just about landscaping, it was about erasure. Swapping out the deep blues of the Oval Office carpet for muted gold, that wasn't design, it was dominance. And covering historic plaster with plastic-looking filigree, that's not refinement. That is the sound of respect being stripped and repainted. And then there's that ballroom. A plan for a 300 million temple of self-celebration rising from where the East Wing once stood. And they're calling it modernization. I call it suspicious that a man who once bankrupted a casino, a university, and several other businesses thinks that he's the right leader to do this. And some of y'all actually agreed. But don't think you're entirely powerless, because here's what they forget. Respect doesn't belong to the office. It belongs to the people who grant it. We lend our faith, our taxes, our time, and our trust. And when those things are abused, we have every right to revoke them. You see, respect is not submission. Respect is responsibility. And when leaders show none, citizens must show resolve. The No Kings movement is not just an uprising, it is a reminder that democracy is not a costume you wear for the cameras. It's a covenant you honor when no one is watching. Y'all, I keep thinking about the bunker under the East Wing, the Presidential Emergency Operations Center. It was built to protect life in the darkest hours of this nation. And now, above it, destruction and vanity. It's almost poetic in a tragic way. The safe place beneath, buried under the rubble from the ego above. And that's what happens when respect collapses. It buries what's meant to save us. But as I said, you are not powerless. Here's your action for today. Go to nokings.org and see when the next one is. Participate in Blackout Friday Week. You heard of Black Friday Week? Well, now there's Blackout Friday Week, because the only thing they understand and respect is the dollar. Also, go to 50501 and support the ETA, support smart elections, look into how you can get involved. Call things out as they were and stop saying you don't do politics, because y'all, politics seems to be the diddler and does us. I wonder if it's in the Epi-Files. But there are also some personal things that you need to do for yourself. Find joy in the little moments, but where you can't find it, create it. Start doing the things that you've been putting off and telling yourself that you can't do, that it's luxury to do, that it's not the proper form of doing. Do it anyway, because if there's anything to learn from this week, it's you don't have to ask for permission to do the things that you desire, especially if it doesn't actually hurt anybody. You see, I'm not here to just bring up problems. I'm here to also share with you what the solutions are. So, as I said, you're not powerless. Now, we can't rebuild that wing ourselves, and we can't scrub the gold off the walls or even undo the AI propaganda. But we can reclaim the meaning of respect by demanding transparency, by protecting truth from spectacle, and by remembering that this house, our house, belongs to the people who built it, fought for it, and believed in it. And if those in power can't respect that, well then, darling, they don't deserve the keys. I'll sip on that. All right, y'all, this has been another episode of I Got Tea. Time to educate America because clearly somebody's got to. And today's tea isn't gossip, it's actually grief. Grief for a house that used to stand for unity and service, but also faith, y'all. Faith that the people still see, still care, and still know what respect looks like. Because once respect returns, so will the integrity of the house that bears our name, and maybe soon even the country too. Until next time, keep your tea hot and your integrity even hotter.